The Private Label Pod with your host Paul Mooney, brought to you by Private Label People.
You just listen and leave the rest up to us.
Welcome to the Private Label Pod with me, Paul Mooney, episode 6. Today we sat down with Mickey Razul. Apologies if you hear a little bit of background noise. One of our neighbours was being a little bit loud with the music, so hopefully that doesn't come through and distract you. But as always, great to sit down with new company, and let's get straight into the chat with Mickey.
Get involved, have your say, ask us a question, or leave us a voice message by heading on over to privatelabelpeople.com/podcast.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. Today we have a very special guest, and that is Mrs. Michaela Razul, also affectionately known to us in the office as Mickey. Mickey, how are we today?
Good, thank you. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing okay, thanks. It's going well. It's going anyway, so that's a positive. We just thought we would bring you in and have a little quick chat with you about what it is you do on your day-to-day. But first of all, if your surname hasn't given it away already, you're Ali Razul's other half. How do you find working with Ali every day?
It has its up and downs, I would say. And maybe it's best if we leave it there.
Thanks very much.
No, it's good. I would say 90% of the time is good. We have a good time working with each other, mainly because I'm not doing research and he's not doing the logistical side of things. So we keep things separate rather than mixing it together and doing the same task as one single person. That won't work. It won't work because I'm opinionated, he's opinionated, and will clash. So we have very, very strict instructions that he does his research. That's what he's good at. I'm not going into his research, and he doesn't get to tell me, "Oh, Mickey, can you do the research side of things?" And I don't tell him, "You have to do the logistical sides." I'm doing it myself, and he does his. So that's how our work relationship goes.
Well, that sounds like it works well. You have that knowledge that he does his thing right and you do your thing right, so you leave it in the middle. But I'm sure lots of people who are listening, they work with their other halves also, so it would be interesting to hear back from them on how they find that working. But you have a relationship and it's working, and that's the main thing.
Oh, we do. I'm sorry for interrupting, but we do have some days when my energy is low and he says things and they get to me, and I'm sure that he feels the same. But because we work in the office, Paul, you haven't seen anybody being, I don't know, murdered by me.
Not yet, no.
Not yet. So I guess, yeah, it's working.
Good.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And in regards to, you just mentioned logistics, which is something that you take care of, obviously. How did you get involved in logistics? Had you experience in it before you did this?
I did, yes. So when we decided to move to Northern Ireland, I was working in Heathrow, and I was working for an air freight airline. And I was doing for 5 years, I was doing their air freight, shipping out of the UK and importing into the UK. The last year of being a Heathrow, I was moved into a bit of a more special division, I will call it. I was doing the dangerous goods. Basically, before the plane left, I had to sign off that the shipment was secure to go on a passenger's aircraft. Mainly, it was like, I'll just give you an example. It was paint, which is flammable. It was explosives. It was things that you wouldn't imagine they would be on a passenger flight. So somebody would need to check to make sure that they're all compliant to being put on a plane and not next to each other. And some of the things that I saw was flammable liquid being put next to something that a little spark, and it could just cause a disaster. Yep. So it was a lot of pressure on the last year of my life being a Heathrow, but it was also amazing. I got to work with really nice people, and I got to, for the first time in my life, I saw the Queen's horses. They were traveling from the UK to India, and I got to load those on a plane. It wasn't a passenger plane, it was a cargo plane. But it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I got to see a horse being put on a plane, and that horse wasn't sent anywhere. It was sent to a spa in India because they needed some relaxation after the races in the UK.
Okay.
So I got to talk to the guys, and it was just amazing, like honestly amazing. Then we decided to move to Northern Ireland. So that's how I got put into the logistical side of our day-to-day work. But I also worked for a brief period of time for the freight sport. So that was sea freight. Never before I've done sea freight. So that was a good learning experience for me. And now that's, I would say 80% of my job is the logistical side of things and arranging shipments from China into the UK, into Canada, into Australia, the US, and also inland shipments from Northern Ireland to UK.
Great.
So yeah.
I'm trying to work out what we have to do to get sent to a spa in India. Like we'll have to have a word with the boss.
No, you have to be working like a racehorse.
That's Ali.
Yes.
Yeah, putting pressure on him. But no, I think it's good for people that are listening that they hear your experience, because that gives them faith that actually you've got real good experience there, and you've brought a lot of it to the table, which is excellent. What does a day-to-day look like for you when you come in the morning?
The first thing that I do is checking my private messages from our members. If I do have a private message, that will be my first thing to do. Just reply and take it from there. The next thing would be the emails. And then after that, I'm immediately going into orders, reorders, and communications with our agents in China, because they would be messaging me or Ali or Emily about problems the majority of time. If there is an issue, there is a delay. So that would be my immediate thing in the morning. 9:30 will be communication with the agents to make sure that the orders, the payments, everything is in order, and we're taking care of the orders as we should be.
Okay, busy day, but very important.
Yeah. So that would be, I would say I'm spending about half of my day on orders, reorders, payments to the suppliers, and communicating with the agents in China to make sure that everything is done as it should be. And also, if we decided that we're going to send to the US a container on the 15th of every month and a container on the 30th of every month, just to speed up the process and don't make people wait for too long for a shipment to arrive. If you invested $5,000 on a product and you wait for a year for it to arrive, essentially you don't see that $5,000. So I'm trying to make sure that all the orders are dispatched from China as soon as the production ends, and that's me to make sure that happens. If we don't tell the agent, that won't happen.
So well, it's a lot of pressure on you. I was going to ask you what the most rewarding part of your job was, but I think that's sort of the answer in a way, is it? Whenever you see that being,
it is. So I think the best thing about orders and reorder is that I can calculate them at the beginning of the month, based on how many orders I'm expecting to be completed by the 15th and how many orders are expected to be completed by the 30th, and calculate if I have enough for a full container, a 40-foot container, or I would need to reduce it to a 20-foot container. So that's the way that I'm speeding up the orders being delivered in timely manner, I would say. Also, as you know, our orders are not produced in China in one single place. Mm-hmm. They are produced in north, south, east, west, everywhere. So they get transported from the factory that produces the goods to our agent next to the port in Shenzhen, and that's the inland shipping time that it seems like it gets a few people caught off guard because they don't expect that. They expect that the shipment will just leave from the factory straight onto the boat and straight to the US. That is not the case. It needs to be transported to the port first.
Okay.
And the majority of the agents that we work with, they assist with our customs documentation. That's why none of our members have to deal with that, but somebody has to deal with. Okay. So it's myself and the agent.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, no, look, I think it sounds like you have a very busy day. When I come into the office most days, I'm almost afraid to say hi, Mickey, because you just always look so busy, and you've your headphones on, and you're just 24/7 going for it. But I know we don't want to keep you too long, because I know you are really busy, and I think after hearing that, the members will say, no, please don't keep her too long, because they want their orders through. So
yeah, I actually have to go and pay for somebody's order, and I have a container leaving on the 30th of this month. So I need to make sure that I pay. The factory gets to send the product to our agent, and the product gets loaded into a container. I would also like to mention there is something else that we do give to our members, and I do not mention it because I felt that should be asked, that give this to people without asking for anything in return. So when the product gets delivered from the factory onto our agent in China, before the products get loaded into a container, they actually check to make sure that the quality of the product is what we expect. And they also check the packaging, they check the labels, and they check that the poly bags are tied to the product. So that's an extra step that I haven't mentioned before, but they are doing that. So when the product arrives in the US, there is no need for us to ask for a project, or there is no need to spend money that we shouldn't be spending. If there is a problem with the product, and our agent is telling us that we have a problem with the poly bags, it gets changed there and then, and I would say 70% of the time, 80% of the time, I don't even mention to anyone, because I know they do it within days, and it makes the boat.
Yep.
So I don't want to add any extra stress to somebody that was waiting for their orders. So that stress is mine.
Okay.
So I keep that to myself, and I hope I'm not stressing too much around the office, and I'm not like shouting and screaming to make sure that my order gets sent.
Only sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only sometimes. No, not really.
No, not at all. Not at all. I have to say, it's always a delight to come into the office and see you and Ollie working away, and you work really well together. But you're really helpful, and I think that's great for the members to know. And even just painting that scenario that you've just painted there regarding packaging and things, that comes from experience and knowledge of shipping things through time. So it's great that the members have somebody like yourself looking after that. So thank you, Michaela. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Paul. It was nice chatting to you. We don't often get to sit down together and have a chat. Like, we honestly don't.
No. We'll have to do that more often. I know my little girl and your little girl always had play dates, but we've let that go because we're just so busy. But we'll get that sorted again.
Yeah, I know. Paul has a dog. I don't know if it was mentioned. Paul used to bring his dog to our house, but that doesn't happen because we bought a cat.
Yeah, not a good mix. Worse mix than you and Ollie working together.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
No, but no, thank you so much, Mickey. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys. Bye.
Get involved, have your say, ask us a question, or leave us a voice message by heading on over to privatelabelpeople.com/podcast.
That's it for today's podcast, folks. Thank you to Mickey for joining us. Hopefully we will chat to her again soon. As ever, it was great having you here, and we will see you next time.